Okay.
Working.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome to another class of Word of Torah. We have Moshe Avrams here. We all know the routine, how we're going to do this. About 30 minutes of your time. It's not a whole lot. You can actually listen to us while you're at work, right? And driving down the road. But make sure you look at the contents because really important. We have some great new information for you. We're excited about it. And we're actually going to start into another verse, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So do you want to go over the rules or no? We don't need to every time.
No, I think they've got
Okay.
us. But as you're saying, people are listening to us on their drive to work. We're gonna have to use our exciting, dynamic voices, not
Yes.
the kind of the sleepy time podcast.
Yeah, what we call over here public radio broadcast.
The
Really,
NPR.
really calm,
Yeah.
really calm. I love the pancakes.
So lovely. So this is where we left off. We started on this verse last time, and we're going to just chase this idea a little bit further. So God has just brought humanity into existence, and actually, weirdly, this happens a couple of times.
Mhm.
It describes the humanity being brought into existence, and then a few verses later, it describes it again with more detail. And we don't really need to worry about that chronologically speaking, because God isn't chronological necessarily. You know, God doesn't have that limit. So I don't think it's a problem. But it's more like in the first sentence of the Torah, it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then we get all the detail. So we get this overview and then the gubbins. So this is Vayvarech otam Elohim. And God blessed them, in the plural. V'yomer lehem, and said to them, Elohim, God did, Pru urvu umilu et haaretz. This is the same word as pre. This is the same word as fruit. But this is the instruction to be fruitful. And urvu, and to multiply, to become the rav, to the many. Umilu, and to fill up et haaretz, the land. So this is where we left off last time. We talked about the idea that because God said they will be fruitful and multiply, they're going to be fruitful and multiply. This they don't have much choice in. This is now part of the fabric of the universe, that humanity will expand and fill up the earth. And look, we are now at the time of recording, we're in 2024, and the earth is pretty filled up. It's pretty fruitful.
And look, it's not only about the seed of a woman and a man making a child. It's also about progress, about invention, about convention, about how you grow in society and progress.
Absolutely. There's a cultural thing, an agada, which means a story that didn't necessarily happen, but gives us an idea about Torah. Because in the Greek history, we hear about Prometheus stealing fire from the gods, and fire, of course, is the symbol of invention. But in the Talmud, we hear the story about how when you want to make a pair of tongs, you need a pair of tongs. So you get this pair of tongs, you use it to make another pair of tongs. But if we go back in the list of tongs, where did the first tongs come from? And the Talmud says God gave us the first pair of tongs. And really what that is it's the old sages saying that God gives us the permission to be inventive. He encourages us to be creative. Of course, that's part of the image of God.
It
to
is.
be creative, to make new things.
Right. Beautiful.
And in the last week, the Torah talks about us, dominating the fish and the flying things, and it's our responsibility to look after the planet, not in a environmental way, sure, but also to make sure there's enough for everybody.
Correct.
Vayvarech otam Elohim, God blessed them, v'yomer, and said lehem to them, Elohim, God did, pru uvu, be fruitful and multiply, umilu et haaretz, and fill up the earth, Kikvashuha. Oh, this is a weird word. This is an unusual word. We have kavash, and then we have ha. The v at the beginning is an and. The hey at the end looks feminine to me. It looks like a feminine hey, either doing it to something female or someone female owning it, depending on it. But this happens to be a verb, so it must be doing something to someone female. We need a definition of the word kavash, and it happens to be that we've got one down here. To subject, to subdue, to force, or to keep under. These all sound like bad words. Who are we keeping under? What it says here. Oh, go on.
No, it's this is about management, direct management of something.
Absolutely.
It's not about subjugation.
Yeah.
It's about managing.
God made the company. We're the managers,
Right.
And then
Right.
at the bottom of the rung is the fish.
Right.
They're working in the factory, right? But you know, if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have a job anyway.
Right.
So
That's
it's
wrong.
the kiv shuha is to dominate her, and
Right.
it's urdu is yarad is to descend to come down on something, and it's big dat. Dag is a fish, so in or with, which is with in this case, dagat, so, which is an of taf. So bigdat hayam is with the fish of the sea. Uva oaf hashemayim, and the oaf, the flying things. Your faith is to fly, right? Uva oaf and the flying things hashemayim. Uva kol chaya. What's chay as in l'chaim?
Mm-hmm.
So chay is life.
Life. Mm-hmm.
Haromeset al haaretz. That's our sign for the romeset things. They are. You could call them the creepy things, or the things that give you the creeps.
Right. Okay.
All that stuff. So as every level, you know, is being included there. From the flying things up at the top, the fish in the middle, and the creepy things at the bottom. So we're managing them. We're dominating. We're on top of them. V'yomer Elohim. God said. So we're going to get more information, more rules. And we get this word hine. Hine. I like it. I think that's how it should be pronounced, because this is the word. Behold.
Yes.
Hine. Pay attention to it. This is the thing. So I'll try and make that pink and play along at home when you see the hine.
Yeah,
say,
play along with it.
Why not? So it says, behold, natati. Now I'm just going to introduce this as a new piece of information about verbs. That with a verb, you can have this ending that tells you who's doing it and when. So if you put taf yod on the end, this T on the end of something, in this case it's notain, which is to give, or natan, which is to give. But this is natati, and the T at the end says I did it in the past. Like this is past tense, I've completed this.
Right.
So because it's notain, to give, natati means I have given. If it was natata, it would mean you have given. Natati is I have given. Natat, it's a really difficult one to say, but it means she's given. There's all these different versions. You change the ending to say who's doing it.
Right.
But when it's owning something, instead of natatem, which would be y'all did it,
right?
You'd say if it's to own something, it's kem. So ka is yours. Like lech lecha is you should go, right?
Right.
But if you want to make it plural, you'd say kem. The mem makes it plural. So lechem means to y'all, plural. So we're referring to Adam as otam, them, and now God is talking directly to Adam in the plural. V'hine natati lechem, I have given to y'all. What's he given?
Actually, he's a good Southerner, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Go on. How do you say it?
Good to you. No, I'm just saying God was a Southerner. He says he gave to y'all. Okay.
I mean,
but we got to remind everyone first.
Yeah.
So we don't confuse. Hashem is calling them before they were them. Yeah. If you understand, before they were separated. Okay. I just want to make sure that they understand.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Because the concept of gender doesn't apply to God. Gender is a very kind of limited base thing. It's something that we need as humans, but it's not something that God needs as an infinite, because God doesn't have any limit. If you're limited to one gender or the other, if you're one gender, you're not the other gender. If you're that gender, you're not that. So we don't apply limit to God. God is not a finite thing, but people are. Right. So at the moment, we're talking about Adam as being this thing which has not yet been divided into male and female, but will be very soon. Right. One part will become male Adam, and the other one will become female, and eventually they'll get married. And this is an image for marriage that we, it's
and what is interesting in procreation, those two separate products come together to make one. Again, it's like
absolutely, we become one flesh, and that joined flesh is capable of making new people.
That's right.
Plato has an idea which is very famous. Plato's very famous for introducing this idea, but he nicked it off the Talmud. It's not actually a Platonic, it's a Jewish idea. So Plato said, poetically, that God made all of the souls and then divided them in two and scattered them in the world. And it's your responsibility to find the other half of your soul. And when you do, that's your family. That's when you've done it. You've found the missing part, and that's really what it feels like.
Yes.
I've just recently found out.
Yes, of course.
But
And you're gonna have beautiful children. Can't wait to see them.
May have Peishel Chola as Naim Shel Hashem, from
Amen,
your
yes.
mouth to God's
To
ears.
God's ears, yes.
So
I was actually thinking about that last night. I was like, you know what? I can't wait to see their first children. They're gonna be beautiful children.
Yeah,
So
me
that's
too. I
gonna be
can't wait to meet
Yeah.
them. They're going to be interesting little creatures. Half Israeli, quarter English, quarter Irish,
Yeah,
all
just
Jewish.
they'll
Yeah,
just come out an angry Irish Israeli.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, call it the market on disgruntled.
What are you doing here?
So, what did he give? Vahina, Natati lakem, I gave to y'all et kol Esav. Now, Esav, we encountered before. God was talking about that the earth would put out Desha Esav, would sprouting grasses, and it says here Zorea Zera. We also talked about these being seeding seeds that seed seeds. Desha Esav that seed seeds. Asher al panei, that is on. Panei is the face of. So you know how everything in Hebrew starts from a three-letter verb root. So you have your face, your panim, your shade of panim, as your grandmother might say. It comes from the verb to face, to panna, is to face in a direction, right? So then it becomes panim, which is face. This is panei with a yod and a tsere, right? And I always make it pink when it's yod and tsere. When you have this vowel, these two horizontal dots, tsere makes an a sound, and this yod, it means of. So this is the face of the panei kol haaretz, the face of all the earth. So God has given these grasses and these seeding seeds that are on all the face. Asher al panei kol haaretz, they're on all the face of the earth. He's given them to mankind. Bad news. So far, we're vegetarians. But don't worry, good news will come soon.
Yes.
I was a vegetarian for 22 years. And I recently started eating meat, and it's really good.
I don't know how you did it.
What was I doing? So the ed kol ha'etz, and all the tree. Now see ha'etz. Asher bo. Now there's a couple of different ways to say bo. You could say bet aleph. Bet aleph means to come. That's the verb to come. But this is a prefix and a suffix. The prefix bet sounds like a house, a bait. A house is only useful because you can go in it. So the prefix bet means in or with. And the vav here is called a deacon's vav. It's got a little yarmulke on it. It's got a little nose. It's like a little bloke. That means his or its. Right. So it means in him or in it.
In it.
So in the case of the tree, it says, kol eitz, all trees, asher bo, that within it, pre-eitz. In its fruit of the tree, like pru urvu milu et haaretz. Pru is to fruit, pre is a fruit, pre-eitz is a fruit tree. That in its fruit tree, it has
fruit,
zorea zera, seeds inside it. Opa, and it says again, it repeats that idea of lakem at the bottom there. So that's for y'all. Right? If it was for you, if he was talking to Adam as a singular, he'd say "lacha" for you. But he says "lachem" to y'all, and it says "lachem" to y'all. Yeah, it will be la'achla. Now, this is my favorite verb. My students know because I bang on about it all the time. Aleph, chaf, lamed is achal, and it means to eat. Right? So achla with a hay on the end, that's food. So it says all of these fruits and seeds and stuff. Basically, we've got muesli. We haven't got the milk yet, but we've got the muesli. Do you guys say muesli?
Muesli? No. What is muesli?
Granola.
Oh yes, yeah.
We've got the granola. We haven't got the milk yet, so it's dry granola. Hopefully, things will improve for us. Okay, beautiful.
Hopefully, it's roasted or something.
So this is introducing the rules. We see this with all the other stages of creation, that first God introduces a thing, and then he starts to introduce the rules, and he starts to define it. So he goes, okay, your people, male and female, in the image of God, you've got some seeds here you can eat and some fruit that you can eat. And we're going to spend a lot more time introducing concepts to mankind than we are to the other things, because mankind gets a lot more detail because it's a lot higher in God's eyes.
Mhm.
It says ulakol chayat haaretz, and for all. So lamed as a prefix means to or for. This vav, this red vav, this means and. So and for kol all chayat, the life of, this is an of taf, haaretz, the land, ulakol, and for all, kol is all, oath, the flying things, hashemayim, the heavens, the flying things of the heavens, ulakol, and for all, romes, al haaretz, that crawls on the earth.
All right.
Asher bo. This is just like a minute ago. We had asher bo, that in the fruit, that in it has its seeds. This is all these life things that in it, nefesh chaya. Now, what's a nefesh? What is your nefesh?
Nefesh is soul or spirit, or
absolutely. And this is because it's nefesh chaya, and chai is life. It's a living soul, right? So all the things that have living soul inside, they're going to get for the life of the earth, and for the flying things of the heaven, and for the crawly things of the earth that have living soul in them. Kol yerek Asif. Now, Asif we saw in the previous verse, that's the grassy things, right? And the seeds. But this is yerek. And yerek is the color of these grassy things. Now, if you look at this yerek here, what color do you think it is?
Green?
Yeah. So, there's a subtle in there to help us out. Right. There you go. Yeah. So these are the green sprouty things. Lachla, for food. So we get the fruit as well. We get the fruity things and the seedy things and the fruit that has seeds and the grasses, and for all the other animals, they get the green grasses. Okay. And it says v'yehi kain. Now, do you remember what we said about yehi kain and ending a verse? So we had two possible endings. We can have yehi kain, and it literally means "and it was so," or we can say v'yar Elohim ki tov, and God saw that it was good. So when we have yehi kain, that means the process isn't finished yet.
Right.
Good news for those barbecuers.
Yes.
Process at this stage yet, but actually that's going to come much later. It's going to be a lot of vegetarianism for the foreseeable future. And now it says, bearing in mind, we are on the 6th day. We finished the 5th day. We're now on the 6th day. It says, V'yar Elohim, V'yar. Right. The root is ra'eh. Okay?
You've got to roughen the voice out. V'yar.
V'yar Elohim. Right. So this is, it's come back here. It says V'yar Elohim. God saw et kol is all, asher, that asa he made. So being that we're on the 6th, we're finishing up the 6th day, all that he made is everything he made for the 6 days. V'hine, and behold, Tov me'od.
Good, very good.
Right, exactly, very good. Every other day of the week has been V'yar Elohim ki tov. God saw that it was good. But now he's seen all of the stuff, and it's Tov me'od. It's very good. Right. Because God liked it when each process was complete. That's when it was good. When the process was complete and it was running on its own.
Right.
He liked the stuff. It was so. But when everything comes together to be a complete process, that's when it's good. But now all of the processes that have come together to be complete have all come together to be complete. You know,
and then it's Tov Me'od. That's like a conductor listening to a violin section and going, "That's good. Now let's put it all together." Very good. This is beautiful. Brilliant.
That's a really nice metaphor. I really like that. Yeah, because if any of the elements were out, the whole thing would collapse. But he's made sure every element is working, and now it's beautiful. They're all in harmony. Beautiful. And it says Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Vocha, Yom Shishi. That is not only is that the same how each day is ended, Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Vocha, Yom whatever, but this is also, we say this on Friday night, because Friday night is Yom Shishi. Yom Shishi, when we're going into Shabbat,
right?
Which means We finished. We
That's
finished
right.
creation. The next day is going to be Shabbat, and we're not going to create anything on Shabbat.
Right.
Well,
And the week was good. Don't forget.
right.
Yeah.
The whole process. So I am obsessed with this idea that lots of the things that are yod mem in ending, like shemayim, right, or mayim, or yam, all of these yod mem things, they're all about flow. They're all about not fixed things. You know, they can mean plural because plural things are unlimited and flowing, right? And it can be about sea, it can be about water, it can be about heaven, it can be about all these different things which are flowing and in flux, right? So I see these as 6 flows of creation.
Oh, yes.
It could be days, it could be even 24-hour days. I don't know. However God decides it is, that's how it is.
Right.
But I see this, just as you said, he's been dealing with the individual instruments of the orchestra, and now he's brought it all together into one creation.
Right.
And he's finished with Yom Shishi. Now that also brings us to the end of chapter 1. We're going to start the end of chapter 2 now. This is chapter 2, verse 1. And it starts talking about how everything comes together. And we'll see this arc over the book of Bereshit. In the beginning, we're dealing with the absolute fundamentals of the universe. And then we're going to deal with the fundamentals of mankind being introduced. And then they start having kids, and those kids start having kids, and we start dealing with the fundamentals of society. And once we've set up all of those things, then we start dealing with individuals like Noah and Abraham. But you know, talk about setting down the ground rules. We started from the existence of everything, and then the existence of specific things like light and planet and stars.
Right.
And all of this is a precursor. And I just want to give you a little bit of information about something that we're going to do in the future.
Okay.
One of the concepts about the Torah is for Israel and the Jewish people, and really for the world, this is like the American Constitution. This is a contract. And what you see as you go through Bereshit is the rules of Abraham are introduced, and then the rules of God's relationship to Abraham are introduced, and then Abraham's relationship to the country. You know, he goes and he buys a bit of land to bury someone in, and he gets invited to settle, and then him and his kids and his grandkids and his great grandkids, they get invited to make relationships with people, and they're always saying, "I want to give you this," and he goes, "No, I don't want to take anything." Right. And so and God keeps on telling him, "I'm not giving you the land to you, but I'll give it to your children." And then so 3 generations of being promised this land, and then eventually they take possession of it. Right. So all this to say is it's saying that this people have this claim to this land because God said they do, and also because they made a relationship with the people who are living there, and because they settled in the land for generations. And those first generations, they don't claim the land; they're just living there. So they're recent immigrants, not. But once they've established in the land, they've got as much of a claim to the land as anyone else. They've been there for generations. You know? Right. And then it sees all these contracts where they're spending money to buy land there, and so it's all of these different things. This whole book is saying this is why you're here. But the question is, and this is a really important question: why does God give them any land in the first place? God promises these people land and progeny. Right? Why? Does he just really like them? He likes other people. Why doesn't he give them land and progeny? The answer is land and progeny is a nation. Okay. So why does God build a nation? Well, he tells Abraham in the promise, "I'll make you a nation, and you will have to act right. You'll have to live by my rules," it says in one of the promises. "And those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed." But this is the crux, it's the last line. "And by you, all of the nations of the earth will bless themselves." So all of this foundational document is to say, I've made a people, they're going to carry the Torah. But the reason they exist is so that the non-Jews can bless themselves by the Jews. So people resent this idea of they go, chosen people and stuff like that. It doesn't really say that, although they are chosen for a specific purpose, and the specific purpose is to the benefit of the non-Jews. Right. And how you act regarding the Jews is how God will act regarding you. Right. So if you act right, if you treat them well and use them as God's librarians and say, "Hey, can you teach me what God thinks about this?" Right. You will do well in your life. Right. Yes. And if you kick him around, it won't go well. Right. And all of this is laid out in the prophets. But the point I'm making is this is for all our benefit. Right. This is so we have a lightning rod of access to God and the blessings of God pouring into the world.
Yes.
And a lot of the time when you get people really angry at Jews, not really angry at Jews. Nobody's really thinking about Jews. They're thinking about God.
Right.
If you're angry at God, you can't punch God. God is unpunchable. It's one of the founding principles of God. You can't punch God, but you can punch a Jew, right?
Right.
But it's not a good idea. It's bad for you, and it's bad for the Jew, right?
No,
So,
we're not going to have a national day of punching a Jew. That's not going to happen.
I hope not. I mean, unfortunately, it has happened
God
before.
forbid.
Absolutely.
Maybe the PA or Gaza or something.
Right. But the point is, it's of direct use. If you look over human history, I'll do this little rant and then I'm out, right? Every time a nation has brought the Jews in, they have flourished. Just think about Joseph being brought into Egypt and his family being brought to Egypt. Did really, really well. And then they turned on the Jews and attacked them, and they did really, really badly from it, right? And then, there was a period where the Jews were brought into Babylon. And Babylon, they were given certain freedoms, and then they were blessed to bring the Jews back into Israel. And you had the golden age of Babel, where they were doing really well. I mean, Iraq and Baghdad was the center of the world.
Oh yeah.
Every time it's happened, even Poland, it happened.
Oh, yes.
Poland was just a forest. And they said, listen, we need a government. We need to bring someone in. We'll bring in these Jews and they'll help us build a government. And they did really well. Poland used to lead the whole of Europe. It was a wonderful. And then they got bored and they turned on the Jews. And now it's Poland.
And you know what? There seems to be a turnaround right now in Poland. A very conservative approach and attention to focusing on what is right.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, I hope so, too.
I hope so. So this is the first page of that. This is establishing the world.
Right.
And this is for all of us. And the rules introduced will be for all of us.
Right. So one of the things that I would like to encourage people to do is my microphone low, or can you hear me?
Sounds
okay?
Good to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to encourage people to do as they're watching this, and you are very correct, this is giving you a pattern or a contract of how Hashem wants to see us navigate this journey. Right. We're seeing that's what the Torah is for. The 5 books of Moses is the secret code book of the universe. Okay. And if they pay attention to this, they're going to be able to see some things in there that's going to help them understand the world they live in, understand how they should react to that world. And also, most people don't realize that there are 7 universal laws. 6 actually already are getting ready to be established, right? And we've had the fruitful and multiply one, right? So we're going through, and hopefully I'll try to remember to, when you mention it, say this is the 3rd law. This. Because most people go, when they hear, well, what about the rest of the world? Do we all need to become Jews? And we say, no, absolutely not. You just need to follow the basic 7 universal laws that were given from the beginning of time. And we're going to point them out. I think it's important to help people understand. It's not that complicated.
And this is one of your many fields of expertise. So so shout out. Don't let me go past any of them. And as well, especially as you say, they're one of the descriptions of the Jewish people is a mamlechet kohanim and an ola goyim, a nation of priests. Mm-hmm. You've got to remember, priests don't operate on their own. They have no purpose. No. Right. The whole purpose of a priest is to enable everyone else to get to God. Right. So it's a tool. A priest is a tool to enable you to get the answers you need from the Bible. Right. So we're just here.
Absolutely.
We're here to help.
Absolutely. And you're doing it.
Beautiful.
We're going to go back to text.
Yes. Let's just introduce this last idea. And we have here, every word in the language comes from a 3-letter verb root. We saw in the last verse that there was the word kol, which means all, a few times. We had kol asher, asar, and in the previous one we had kol chayat, kol oaf, all this and all that. But how do you get a verb to the word kol? Well, it comes here, vayakulu. And yakal is the verb to complete something. It's to finish something, to make something complete. If you're collecting stamps and you complete your collection, you get all. Right, so that's how all comes from complete. Right. So we have the format we recognize. The yod means he or it. The vav means flipped into the past tense. U is plural, but there's an u here as well, and that means rather than to complete, this u down here flips it into the passive to be completed, right? So what's being completed? Vayikulu hashemayim v'haaretz, and they were completed, the heaven and the earth. V'kol tzavuam. Now, tzava is an interesting word. You have tzadi vet aleph, tzadi vet aleph, tzadi vet, we've got a couple of definitions. To go forth, to wage war, to muster. And it says here, a host or an army. This always confused me in English when it said their host or the Lord of hosts, God being the Lord of hosts. Oh, what's this host? It's not the language we use in the 2020s, you know?
No, not at all.
But if you see that it's also related to war, I think this is like a troop, like an array, or I don't know the military language. You know the military language better than I do. But you know when you have your troops, you have collections of people with different functions. You've got you've got the engineers corps and the medical corps and stuff like that. So a spectrum is gradiated perfectly. Everything is very slightly different. But an army is ranks, and you have everything that a society needs in an army. But they're all in sections, and I think this is what it's describing the earth. It's going, well, you've got the light, and you've got the darkness, and you've got the land animals and the sea animals, and they're in their sections. So it's saying it's very organized. It's got this structure and this plan to it, and it's come out gradually, and the rules have been introduced. So it's reestablishing that the rules are part of it. But the idea is vayikulu hashemayim va'aretz, and they were completed, the kol tzavom, in all their array. This is the bookend to the first verse in the first chapter of Bereshit.
Yes.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz, et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. Here we hear vayikulu hashemayim va'aretz, and they were completed, the heaven and the earth. So that's just perfectly tied together our journey so far in the lessons. And what we're going to come into now is we're going to start on the story of how does Adam come about, and then how does Chava come about. She's going to be first referred to as wife. We're going to find out how she gets her name, which is actually a super beautiful story.
Yes.
And we're going to find out about how, when the Bible is translated into English, it takes the word an ezer kenegdo. That's the description of the wife that's going to be Adam's wife. Mm-hmm. And people often translate it as a helper for him. And that is a misunderstanding. It's missing. It's refusing to translate the word kenegdo, which means against him. She is a helper against him. And, listen, I've only been married for a couple of weeks now, but I understand the idea.
It doesn't take long. Trust me. You'll figure it out.
But it's actually, it sounds insulting, but it's actually a super important concept to marriage. And it's about her being equal. She's not a helper for him. She's a helper against him. She's pushing and pulling and improving him and elevating. All about that idea of struggle makes something stronger.
Woman, why do you always tell me to do the opposite?
The Bible told me to.
Yes. I have authority. You need to submit to me.
I was once teaching a student, and we got to this idea of an ezer kenegdo, a helper against him. And she said, just hold that thought one side. And she went to the back of the room and went, Brian, are you ready yet? And I was like, did the Bible remind you to tell your husband off?
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah.
Wonderful. So
beautiful. I
think I just want to remind everybody that my email is on here on the slides, and you can also email if you've got a question. I can't do a great long TED talk on a question, but if you've got a question, you can send me emails as well to start a conversation about the Hebrew and things that you'd like to find out from us. And if there's something that you'd like us to pay a special attention to.
Are you still doing private lessons?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I've got group lessons and individuals. Yeah.
So if you're interested in private lessons or a group lesson, make sure you get a hold of him immediately. Text him or send him an email on Moshe R. Avrams @gmail.com.
Absolutely. In fact, shall I just quickly put that? I think that's on the screen on the slide, because it's sometimes seeing it written down just makes it a little easier to copy down.
Just remember, no period between.
That's right. It's
never mind.
MOSHERABRAHAMS. It's too long, isn't it? at gmail.com. I need a shorter email. Just
Why don't you
Moshe.
just do mra@gmail.com? You can just
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. As long as it's not MRSA.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I can tell you, people are learning, and I had a comment from one of our Hebrew teachers here in town that said she watched and she enjoyed it. Her name is Leslie Witkoff.
Oh,
She is
lovely.
part of our community and the local Jewish community, but she's been teaching Hebrew for years, and she says it was very, very good and entertaining. That's what I
Good.
like to hear.
Well, maybe we can get her on at some point. We can have a little
Yeah.
collab. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well,
Well,
Moshe, I appreciate you're the real thing, and I really appreciate your honesty and your intuition and your connection to the Torah and making this such an exciting learning experience. Remember, every Monday, 10 a.m., this airs. Today, it's obviously going to be a little late, but sometimes it happens that way. But 10 a.m., we premiere it. Make sure you mark it down, get your cup of coffee, watch it with us, and enjoy. Any last words you want to say, Moshe, before we go?
I'm just excited to see where we go next, because
Yes.
there's these jumping off points, and having completed the process of creation, we're now going to jump into the
Right.
detail of humanity, and I'm really excited to see
Oh,
where we go with
it's
it.
getting fun, and they're gonna the thing is, you're not only just learning how to read the Torah, you're
Mm,
learning the Torah, you're learning the
mm.
words and what they mean. So, until next week at the same time, same bat channel. Shalom.
Shalom aleichem.
Okay, good.